Hey, Mrs. Clark, I've been reading about Jonestown for my project. It's intense. Over 900 people died. How did something like that change how Americans view new religions?
That's a great question, Mark. Before Jonestown, many new religious movements, sometimes called NRMS, were often seen as interesting alternatives. People were curious, sometimes skeptical, but not necessarily afraid.
So, new religious movements were just part of the cultural shift in the 60s and 70s?
Exactly. The 60s and 70s were a time of spiritual searching. Traditional churches were losing members, and people were exploring new ideas, communes, yoga, alternative beliefs. Groups like the Hare Krishna or the Jesus People gained followers. Many of these groups were peaceful and focused on community.
But then Jonestown happened, right? That changed everything?
Yes. Jim Jones and the People's Temple started as a social justice movement promoting equality. But over time, Jones became controlling and paranoid. When he moved his followers to Guyana, it ended in mass suicide and murder. The scale and horror shocked the nation.
Did people start seeing all new religions as dangerous after that?
Unfortunately, yes. Media coverage was intense and sensationalized. Magazines ran headlines like Cult of Death, and TV reports focused on brainwashing and mind control. This led to a moral panic. Many Americans began to lump all new religious movements together, assuming they were manipulative or dangerous.
That must have made it hard for peaceful groups to be taken seriously.
Absolutely. The word cult took on a very negative meaning, shifting from a neutral academic term to a label full of fear. Even groups that were harmless faced suspicion and social stigma.
How did mainstream religious institutions react to that?
Mainstream churches quickly distanced themselves. They emphasized traditional doctrines and transparency to reassure their congregations. They also supported efforts to warn people about dangerous cults. There was even cooperation with anti-cult organizations to protect vulnerable individuals.
What about the government? Did they get involved?
Yes, the government increased surveillance of religious groups after Jonestown. Agencies like the FBI justified monitoring under national security concerns. Laws like the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act were used to watch suspicious groups more closely. The Cult Awareness Network also worked with law enforcement to intervene or deprogram members from new religious movements.
That sounds like a fine line between protection and violation of religious freedom.
It is. While the government never outlawed these groups outright, the increased scrutiny raised concerns about civil liberties. Fear sometimes overshadowed respect for religious diversity.
So culturally, Jonestown made people more scared of charismatic leaders and communal living?
Exactly. Jonestown amplified existing anxieties. The idea that one person could control a whole community to such a deadly extent terrified Americans. Communal living, once seen as an alternative lifestyle, was now viewed with suspicion as potentially dangerous or cult-like.
It's interesting how one event can redefine an entire idea.
Yes. Jonestown left a long-lasting shadow. People tend to remember the horror and forget that not all NRMS are harmful. But the fear of cults stuck around in popular culture, movies, TV shows, even protests.
So how should we look at new religions today?
With critical thinking and understanding. It's important to learn from history without letting fear close our minds. Not all new religions are Jonestown. Some offer community, meaning, and peace without harm.
That makes sense. Fear can cloud judgment. Understanding seems a better approach.
Exactly. That's why studying events like Jonestown is so important. It teaches us both the dangers of unchecked power and the value of religious freedom.
Thanks, Mrs. Clark. This helps me see the bigger picture, not just the tragedy, but the lasting effects on society and faith.
You're welcome, Mark. Remember, history isn't just about the past, it's about how we choose to think and act today.